Right now, we're live. All right,
All right.
y'all. I'm excited. My name's Mike, Narcoleptic Customs. I'm with Eric Wilson, the Young Gun winner of Rocky Mountain Race Week 2021 2.0 in what was probably, I would say top 5 rig of the week, maybe top 10. There was some really cool stuff, but I really liked the patina style of the truck. I liked that it was turbo LS. And then obviously the story you're going to tell tonight. You did roadside rod piston change. You're an animal. So let's start back a little bit. Let's start. You were just telling me literally 4 seconds ago, you've been drag and drive event participant attendee for 9 years.
Yep. I've done, it's all the race weeks, done every single one of them. And we just started, I started with my dad and my twin brother. We were all, me and my brother were his co-pilots the very first race week. And actually the first 2 race weeks. And then the third one, my brother, he took his truck, but we were still building my truck at the time.
Nice.
So, we slowly progressed. So then the 4th race week, I finally took my truck for the first time.
That's the 4th Rocky Mountain, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So before that, did you guys do some like hot rod drag weeks, Midwest drags, anything like that?
No, we haven't. That's why we did race week is, because we'd always wanted to do drag week, but it's so far away from us that as soon as we heard about it, we're like, well, there's, our chance.
It's in your backyard. Now, saying that your mountain time, I don't know where you live. So it kind of give people an idea of like where you live and like, obviously everybody that has followed the channel knows 1.0 now, 1.0, which was before was just Rocky Mountain Race Week. Obviously Colorado based kind of starting. So
yeah, so we're in Colorado Springs, so cool. We're right around Pueblo and Bandimere as far as tracks go, and the rest of them still a lot closer than 2.0.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, when I know there were a lot of long-time race weekers that did 2.0 because there was no drag week, but then also to support Matt and June because he literally threw 2.0 last year together in like 4 days. It was pretty epic. So, obviously that's a bit of a drive for you, Colorado Springs to Oklahoma City this year, but Tulsa last year, that's got to be what, 10, 12 hours probably?
Yeah, about 10.
That's crazy. That is crazy. So what were you guys in for 2.0 last year? I'm trying to remember.
Last year I took my Caprice. I had a Caprice PPV cop car.
Nice.
And my dad, took his 55 Pontiac still. And, so yeah, I took that car because I just thought, it'll run 13 O's with some nitrous and it'll be a good, easy drive,
Yeah, for sure. So why don't you tell everybody kind of what you brought this year and go into as much detail as you want. Obviously it's a super cool truck. And while you do that, I'm going to find a picture of it that we can lay in here.
Okay. So I've got it's a 1954 International Harvester. It's on a 2000 Silverado frame with the 5.3 in it out of that Silverado. It's 4-wheel drive, and we kept it 4-wheel drive. It's got AC, cruise control, radio. It's got all the amenities. I basically built it for this because it was, whenever I built it, my daily driver, and it is again now.
Oh man, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Hang on here. I've got a good picture of it up here. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this without ruining it all here. I don't know what this, maybe let's do this. And then how about this one? Does that give you the picture of it there? Nope.
Nope.
Hey, I told you I'm not very smart at this stuff. Hang on. Here we go. How about this one? Bam.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. So where did you come across this truck?
So it was my great grandpa's.
Was it really? Oh, dude, that's cool. We love grandpa trucks around here.
Yep. Yeah. So he bought it brand new in 1954 for his farm in Yellow Jacket, Colorado.
What?
And
Dude, that's awesome.
you know, he'd upgrade them every few years. So he had that truck though. I'm not sure how long he had it, but my uncle ended up with it after that. And my uncle called my dad. He said, "Hey, this truck uses more oil than gas. Do you want it?" Our dad said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so we went to New Mexico. That was where it was. Went to New Mexico and bought it from him. I think we gave him $1,000 for it.
Oh,
And
that's cool, man.
and he lose my train of thought. But yeah, I went and picked it up from him, and oh yeah, and I was like 8 years old or 7, and I said, "Hey, I want that to be my truck when I grow up."
Dude, that's too cool. So, grandpa trucks are a big deal for us here at the shop. I don't know if you followed us at all, but like my turbo C10 truck was my grandfather's. We haven't shown but a couple videos of my mom's dad's 78 Toyota truck that is fixing to be in the shop for paint and like interior repair and just putting back together so they can drive it. So yeah, we love the grandpa truck. That's pretty cool. And coming from New Mexico, I mean, dude, that's why the patina is so good then.
Yeah, and actually, my uncle he sanded it down, and he was going to paint it. That's why it is like it is, you know.
Thanks, Uncle. He appreciates that for sure, and all of us out in the world appreciate that too. Mm-hmm. So you said it's on a 2000 Silverado chassis, like regular cab or extended cab, or
so it was a extended cab short bed. And it was about 1.7 off the wheelbase. and so we cut all the rivets out of the leaf spring perches, and we moved the rear end forward instead of chopping out the center of the frame.
Yeah, and then just chopped off the back. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So it's 5.3. I mean, is it still 4L60? Is it 4L80? What's the setup in it?
Yeah, it's got a built 4L80 in it now, because actually that first race week I did in it still had a 4L80, but I blew up a transmission and a transfer case the very first race week we did in it, because it used to, I launched it in 4-wheel drive, and it brutally will hop. And I mean, through the years that's got better and better, but it still doesn't to a certain extent,
Nice. So what size turbos on that thing?
It's a 69 millimeter Borg Warner, a billet wheel.
Nice. So it lights instantly.
Yeah, it lights pretty good, because I used to have a 76 millimeter on 3 on it. Yeah. And my motor mount collapsed and actually shoved the housing into the turbine.
Man.
Yeah, and so I swapped to that turbo, and it went like 4 or 5 tenths faster with that Borg Warner than it did with the on 3.
Are you serious? Wow. Just, I guess, probably better efficiency, even though it's a little smaller. It's just gives it to you better, quicker, and all that kind of stuff. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the future plan for it then? Like, just keep turning it up? Or you gonna daily drive it and kind of keep? I mean, what's that truck run? Okay, sorry, hang on. I'm all over the place. Squirreling here because I like the truck. So what's it run? And then do you have any future plans to turn it up?
So it's been 1172. And that was actually race week 1.0 in Great Bend. That's the fastest it's been. I went 2 1170s back to back. It was like a 75 and a 72.
That's awesome.
And I mean, that's just where I've kept it, because I mean, I tow trailers and stuff with it too, and like it's always been a pretty reliable truck, actually.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't really planned on turning it up anymore, because I have another truck I'm building. I've got a 46 Ford truck that I'm putting on a Trailblazer SS frame that
nice,
with the built 6-liter, so I want to make that 2,000 pounds lighter and make it fast.
yeah, make it the race truck. So So then you'll tow with the International. You'll tow it to the 46 to the track with the International. That's pretty cool. To think you're like 21 is even wilder. You know what I mean? Like at 21, I was chasing girls and working 60 hours a week, which I'm sure you still work 60 hours a week, no matter what you do, just because you have time, and time will go away. You'll find out it's crazy the amount of time that goes away. So it sounds like Dad may have gotten you into some car stuff, obviously. I mean, was his dad a car guy? Like, have cars always been a part of y'all's life?
Actually, no. I mean, his dad, he was always, I mean, he jumped around a bunch of different jobs, but he worked at dealerships selling cars for a long time, but it was just out of necessity, he didn't really care for it. And so he never really was into cars. And our dad just kind of learned it was just something that interested him. And, as he went to college and stuff, just figured it out as he went. He lived at a junkyard for a while after he left home.
Nice.
And so just kind of figured it out.
Yeah, that'll do it to you. Living around all that stuff will definitely change your outlook on how can you build cars and what do you use for, best parts combination and things like that. So that's awesome. All right. So we got to get into the story, dude, because like I didn't know that's what you guys were doing when we passed. Because we passed you guys. I don't remember what day it was, but we passed you guys. There was like 6 people on the side of the road. And I was like, and it was like Bill Armstrong. And I think Rich Guido was there.
Yeah.
And I was like, if those 2 dudes can't help him, I'm not going to be able to help that dude. You know what I mean? So get us into the story. One, how you hurt the motor. And then like, I mean, dude, where did the parts come from? How did you have that? Kind of walk us through all that. So,
yeah. So, I mean, as far as the piston being hurt goes, it actually goes back a couple weeks and I didn't even know it, because see, I was working on that truck, sealing up some exhaust leaks like 1 or 2 weeks before race week. And so I put the exhaust back on. I forgot to plug the O2 sensor back in, and I go out and I rip on it, and I come back and I was like, oh no. And so I plug it back in and drove it all around for that next week before race week. I was like, okay, I guess it's fine,
Yeah, it's still running. We're good.
Yeah, it seemed okay. Well, so then driving down, 10-hour trip down, I get down there. I was checking oil ever so often, which it's never used any oil. And it used like half a quart. And I was like, that's kind of weird. But, I mean, that's a long drive. Okay.
Yep.
So, I get down there, and then after the first day racing, I check it again. It's another half a quart low. I'm like, what's going on here?
There's none on the ground.
Yeah.
This is going somewhere.
Not quite right. And so I was wondering about it, So then in Tulsa, I went and made a run in Tulsa, and my 2-step didn't work.
Yeah.
So I was like,
so hang on. For everybody that doesn't know and didn't follow, Tulsa's day 3 and 600 miles in, just so everybody understands.
Yeah.
And probably at this time, I mean, are you making 2 or 3 passes per day at the tracks?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
And so I go down the track. There's no 2-step, and it launches. It'll do the wheel hop real bad without the launch control. So I was like, okay, so go back. I'm looking at it. Well, somehow it got unplugged. I don't know how. Well, so me just not even thinking about it, I just plug it back in. There's 2 plugins. There's one that is a power operated, one that's a ground operated. And so I plugged it into the wrong one and just shorted it out.
Nice.
So now it's stuck on all the time.
Oh God.
And so I go down the track, didn't really notice it until about the 1,000-foot mark, and the boost is sitting there just dancing around. And so I let out of it. I was like, whoa, what's happening? And I get to the end of the track, and I pedaled it a few times, and it goes tuk tuk tuk. Tuk tuk tuk. It's like, oh, I don't like that. And so I get back to the pit, and it had been idling weird too, and like starting weird, and it all this is just weird. Yeah. It's like none of it doesn't ever do this, So I'm sitting there messing with it on the computer, messing with the tune, and I started up, and that tick goes away, and then we found out the 2-step was stuck on. So I was like, oh, that's probably the noise I heard,
Yeah.
And so I'm messing with it, started again, messing with it, started 2 or 3 times, and the third time it starts up and tuk 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 tuk, and you rev it up. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And so I got Bill, Bill Armstrong came over, we're listening to it. A couple guys came over, and Bill said, well, maybe it's a flex plate. It's because you could only hear it underneath. I said, okay.
Gotcha.
So turned it over. I check all the flex plate bolts, pulled them and Loctited them, put them back, started it back up. No, it didn't change anything. I was like, I think it is in the motor, so started diagnosing it, listening with the pry bar, unplugging coil packs, unplugging injectors, pulling plugs. And so I pulled half the plugs out of it on the turbo side, and they all looked fine, and so the last thing I figured was, change the oil filter, because it sounded almost rod knock-ish,
Yeah.
And so put some thicker oil in it, and none of that changed anything. So we were like, well, I guess I'm talking to Bill, and I said, well, should we just get to the track tomorrow and I'll change the piston? And he goes, have you lost your mind? You're going to go change the piston tomorrow? I said, well, I don't know. It seems like that's what's wrong with it, but I guess I don't know. So we drove back to the track that morning because Richard Guido's car was there with a broken harmonic balancer. So we went back, and while he's fixing his harmonic balancer, I pulled out number 7 plug, and sure enough, it's all covered in aluminum. And I was like, okay, yeah, I found the problem.
Yeah, here it is right here.
Yeah. So we leave the track that morning, and of course it's the day that we've left later than any other day,
Yep.
And so leave the track, we're just putting along. Well, there's a spot, where everyone's losing the route, and so we pull off the road to find the route. We flip around, we get way behind Bill. And so I'm trying to catch up with Bill, but trying to be nice to the truck too.
Yeah.
And so I'm stuck behind someone in a Camaro. And so I pass him, get 3 or 5 pounds of boost, and that piston just comes apart.
Oh, God.
I mean, I get past him. I'm like, okay. So I mean, I get off the side of the road real quick, shut it off. And when Rich pulls behind me and he gets out and he's like, what's up? And I'm like, yeah, that piston just came apart. And he's like, you sure? And we started up and shut it back off real quick.
Yeah. He's like, no.
Sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And so we coasted it down the road a ways into a driveway. And, so we're like, okay, well, I guess we'll just get after it.
So here's because I was thinking, okay, if it was on the stock international frame, I was thinking okay, it's solid axle front, leaf spring, it'll all be open underneath. But dude, if it's on a late model, how the heck, did you do all that?
So being, because I'm a mechanic, I mean, and I work on a whole lot of late model LS type stuff, trucks and whatever, so I know that I have to drop the front axle down. You don't have to take it out, but you have to drop it down.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I crawled under there. I started taking all that stuff off from underneath, and and Bill and Rich and Matt and Blasco and a couple other people, 2 other guys, these 2 guys named David, they both show up and they go, well, we've done 16 DOD deletes in the last 2 weeks, so
let's go.
Yeah. So they know what they're doing, So,
yeah.
So I'm underneath, tearing it apart underneath, dropping down the axle, pulling the oil pan, and they're all up top, pulling the intercooler, pulling the, exhaust manifold and the head.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we're just, we set up the canopy and just got after it. So started.
So for the folks that haven't seen pictures or video of this truck, I think it may be on our day one. If I didn't put it in, it's going to be in the full edit for day one. But you've got a water to air intercooler on top, what would be under the hood of that truck, because the engine bay on that truck is actually kind of small based on your spacing and things like that. So you've got the water to air up top. So I can only imagine just all the stuff that's got to come off to do that, because if it was, so it's number 7, so it's driver's side, so it wasn't is your turbo on the passenger side? I can't remember.
Yeah, it is.
So at least that helps a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does for sure, because, pulling that turbo stuff off. Of course, we have to pull the crossover off anyways.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
I mean, it definitely makes it a little easier. So, yeah, I mean, we're just ripping and tearing. And, I'm like, I have to keep the oil pan gasket intact, because that's the only thing we don't have. But you were asking, so, I had 2 rods and pistons.
Okay.
Because of course I didn't think I was going to need them, but I thought, I'm 600 miles from home.
Yep.
What's some things that I want if something goes wrong,
Yeah. And the other side of that too is they're not very heavy. So it's not like carrying an extra axle with an extra rear end, it's rods and pistons aren't very heavy. So yeah, throw them in that box over there. So
Yeah.
you go back and grab them. So yeah, that's awesome. So you got the pan down, everybody's helping tear stuff off.
Yeah. So pull the pan down. I'm, I get the windage tray, the pickup tube, everything off, get the rod cap off. And so we push the piston out, and it's just the top ring land's just shattered off of it. And so while I'm doing that, I'm getting, I've got everything pretty much torn apart now. The guys are over there, the David and Bill and everyone, they're over there with the head. And, they're checking my valves and they're like, yeah, the exhaust valve, looks like a chunk of piston went through it and it's not sealed up. So they're like, we need to lap this in. What do we have to lap it in with? And, so we're talking and Rich goes, well, I got some toothpaste. I mean, it's kind of abrasive. We can use that to lap it in.
Nice.
And, so he goes and gets the, whatever it is, the extreme white toothpaste.
Yeah.
And, he puts it on the valve, and they've got a drill, puts it in the drill over there. They lap it in. They're like, it looks good. Like it lapped in, it's sealed up.
That's crazy. So yeah, there's like 8 of y'all working on this rig when we pass, and I was just like, man, I hope it's not bad. And then we get to the track and see that it was a rod and piston. But you did it, like, how much time did it take you from like pulling over to you were back on the road? Because that's even a more impressive number, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean because pretty much so, our timer that we had going was Bill came back and, we had already just barely started pulling it apart before Bill got back. So he started his timer as soon as he got back there. And by the time we got it back together and started, it was 3 hours and 11 minutes.
That's insane, dude. That's insane. So let me ask this. How many Ugga Duggas did you send down those head studs with, or head bolts with?
Oh, we had a torque wrench, so we torqued everything.
Dang, that's even crazier. I'd have been like, bro, just run them things in. That's funny.
Yeah, the David was up there, and he's like, "What do you want me to torque these to?"
And you're like, I don't know. So, I mean, are you a sloppy mechanics guy? Like you reuse head bolts and head gaskets and things like that?
Yeah, for the most part. But I did have so it's got studs, it is studded, and I did have a head gasket.
Oh, nice.
So we did put a new head gasket on it.
Carl says you're hardcore. He said MacGyver hardcore. That's awesome. All right, so then you leave there. You make it all the way to the track after that. I mean, passes and everything fine after that.
Well, before we jump that far at even, so we pull off the side of the road, and I take off, and it's running like garbage, and I'm like, oh no, because before we even jump that far ahead, number 3 and 5 pistons, they've both got little spots melted out of them too.
Dang.
That you can feel with your finger, but they look okay. So we're like, oh man, I like when that O2 sensor was off, it's like, man, it leaned this thing out pretty good, And so I pull onto the road. Yeah, it's running like garbage. So I'm hoping, I'm going, man, the fuel trims I hope are just far off because, this piston's been broken and it's been running awful anyways. So I pull over and flash a different tune into it and reset the fuel trims. And so we take off and now it's running good. I'm like, okay, nice. Thank goodness, So yeah, so we drive down the road. We make it to the track. I cruised with some other guys because Bill and Rich were trying to get there,
Yeah.
And Bill had to fix his leaf springs that were collapsing. But so get to the track, and I made just one pass that day because I was trying to be nice to it. And
yeah.
I was in the 12-0 class, and I really wasn't in competition anymore, anyways, because I was just. I don't know. I wasn't that worried about running a 12-0 on the dot,
Yep.
So I got to the track that day and didn't even launch it, just left off no boost, and it went 1360.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. I said, well, I'm going to go turn that in because we made it, it's together.
Yep. That's a win.
Yeah. It was a shakedown pass, I said, okay, call it good.
That's crazy. What do you use for software? Are you HV Tuner or like Holly setup? What's on it?
Yeah, it's HV tuners, and
That's awesome.
we've built the harness and stuff that's on it, and that we do a lot of those. Dad and I simplify harnesses and sell
Yeah,
them.
yeah, that's cool, man. Do you have a business you want to do a little shout out to for that if somebody needs some?
Yeah, we could. It's we just have it's EW Performance. We're in Colorado
Okay.
Springs. We do some LS swaps, odds and ends, used car work, tuning, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Awesome. Well, I'll put it in the comments, Facebook page and Instagram stuff.
No,
With
we
them.
actually don't because we have so much business anyways. So
Yep. Don't need it.
Just be contact us.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. So let's get into some of the well, and I want to say this. So Adam, I was talking to him because I was making sure I had the right folks or had, for you. And then I've got, I'm talking to Daniel Green too, the diesel truck and the rookie of the year. I think he won. So he said that you're buying a house or you were buying a house. And like the reason this truck is your daily driver is because you sold everything, including your other daily to buy a house and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. So I've been trying to get the down payment together is what the deal's been. And, which I'd been saving anyways, but I didn't figure I'd be buying a house this soon. So, it just kind of been a slow off to the side thing. And a neighbor up the road from us, an older lady, she's got two houses. She's got like a mother-in-law house and a big house,
Yep.
And so she's moving into the mother-in-law house. And so she said, I'd sell you the big house.
Oh, nice.
And so I we've talked about that and blah, blah, blah. And so I said, well, I've been saving a down payment, but she wanted $30,000. I'm like, I've got $10,000,
yeah.
And so, I just went to selling everything. I sold my Caprice we took on race week last year. I bought that car for $3,200.
Nice.
I thought it needed a motor. It had one broken valve spring.
What?
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yep. And so, I went ahead, did a cam and it did DOD delete and stuff.
Yeah.
But, so I wasn't that deep into it. And I sold it for $10,500.
Yeah.
And, sold the quad and a bunch of, wheels and tires and a supercharger.
Everything you're like, I don't need this. I want this house.
Yeah. Yep. So
cool,
exactly.
man.
So I'm driving the International now because it's what I've got.
That's awesome, dude. That's my plan. So I had been dailying the cart pretty much, and then we heard it on race week, and so my 66 truck was down with the drive shaft because I tried to do burnouts on virgin concrete with no helper, and wheel hopped and just destroyed the drive shaft and rear pinion yoke. And so I've got to get those parts. Well, I was like, oh, we're going on race week in 4 weeks. I'll just park the old truck and I'll just drive the cart whenever I go into the office. Well, now that I've hurt the cart, so I've got the cart hurt and the old truck hurt. So now I'm driving my little 93 Tercel every day and I hate life. You know what I mean? So the old truck's in the shop now. We found a drive shaft and now it's time to find a pinion yoke and get to it. And I'm going to daily that thing. So back to that life. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to drive hot rod stuff or something different than a 93 Tercel, 2-door, 4-speed. You know what I mean? Like it's just not a cool car at all. All right. So let's talk some 2.0 stuff. Let's see. Oh, no, here I had, what'd you drive for the week? But we know what you drove for the week. What was your favorite day of the week?
It probably was, the day after the piston rod swap, which that would have been, let's see, it was after Gouda Springs. So what we were headed, was that the last day, I think, headed back to. So, probably that day because the truck's all working good. We had a good cruise. It's idling better than as the whole trip because it doesn't have a broken piston. I mean, like that was it was a pretty good day.
And that was a pretty easy drive. We didn't get to make it. Unfortunately, the cart was hurt too bad. We lost third in overdrive on our way back to Noble. And we didn't want to drive 28 miles an hour for the entire route. So we were 30 miles in and that was not going to be any fun. Favorite track that you made passes at during the trip?
I think maybe Ennis because I've never been there before, and it was
Yeah.
it was a pretty nice track, pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good track and a good day. It was so hot, but we pulled into town and we drove right past the track. We were like, just get to the hotel, get some air conditioning for a little bit. Let's get something to eat. And then we were one of the 70 cars in the lane there for the first run that almost didn't get to make their first runs. I think Matt came back and was like, "You guys are idiots. What
Yeah.
are you doing waiting this late?" So, anybody else's car that stuck out in your mind that was just like a top a favorite of yours?
I mean, kind of cars along with just stories, just like seeing Alex Taylor and her dad, all the stuff they've done with that car and drag week and race week and stuff, that's pretty ridiculous.
They're animals. Anybody that did those back to back, like the Mac TV guys with Mountain Dew, I mean, those guys are nuts, man. I can't. Steve Willingham with the Camaro, I can't imagine doing that back to back. But that 55 is so nice.
Yeah,
I really like how the carbon fiber comes through, like as patina. Like how the what's his name, Adrian or whatever. I think he did some of the paint work on that in one of the videos I was watching. So that was pretty cool. Any person stick out in your mind as far as like that dude is awesome?
Just as far as like also helping me out, so like the first day, the first day I had a bad U joint in the International too. Actually, I got there and I kept hearing the squeaking, when I was driving, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and I actually heard it before the trip. I thought it was just brakes, and so I get there and I made a pass and I crawl under and the drive shaft's loose, I'm like, okay,
That's the squeak.
Yeah. So Trevor, with the GTR, says Joe Tech on the side. Him and his wife, they from Canada, they all cruise down.
Yeah.
And they let me use their T-Rex, that day to go get parts. And I felt so bad too, because so I went to the parts store and just got a U joint for a Silverado for $1,500. But I know that's a custom drive shaft, so I wasn't sure if it was going to be the right one.
Oh, no.
I hadn't pulled it out yet,
Yeah.
And so I get back and I pulled it out and it's not the right one. It's like, dang it,
Well, so you had to jump back in.
Yeah. So I go ask him again. The second time he's a little less happy, But he's like, okay, fine, And so I'm like, I go back. Well, so they measure it and they put it in the computer. And I was being dumb again because they bring me one out. Well, I didn't double measure it. I just, which is I know better,
Yep.
how often they give you wrong parts. But I didn't double measure it. And so it go back and the caps are like way too small. And I'm like, dang it. Man. So I go back to him again. I'm like, hey, man, I'm sorry. Like I need to go to the parts store one more time. And he's like, yeah, fine. And so
he's like, go on.
Yeah. So I go back again, and O'Reilly's, they're like, we don't have one.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Oh no, and it's like 7:40 now. The parts store closes at 8.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well I better get to AutoZone real quick before they close, see if they got one. So run down to AutoZone, go in, and now they can't put it in their system, the measurements. So we're just searching through part numbers.
Yeah.
You got this one, you got this one, you got this one. And so I find one that I think will work, so I'm like, hey, you got this one? They're like, our hub does. And the hub's open 24/7, but it it's 30 minutes away.
No shit.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't have Trevor's number, So
yeah.
I called Bill, and I'm like, hey, Bill, can you tell Trevor, I'm going to be another hour.
Yeah.
So I have to go drive and get this thing and come back, so let him know I didn't steal his truck. And he's like, Bill calls him back later, says, yeah, I'll let him know. So, okay, thank you,
That's
so
awesome.
So I go to the parts store, and we get there, and it's the wrong one, too, because mine's all inside clips, and this one, it was the right width, but it was the inside clip caps were too small.
Oh.
And so now I'm just trying to find caps that are all the same size, and that are inside clip. And so, I mean, yeah, we go through like 6 or 7 part numbers. And they,
Oh, dang.
we don't have this one, don't have this one, don't have this one. And so finally they come to one, they're like, we have that one. I'm like, okay, cool, go grab it. Well, it's supposed to be like an inch smaller than mine, but the caps are what I need.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool, So they bring it out. Well, the box is bigger than the other one. I'm like, why is the box bigger if it's supposed to be an inch smaller?
Yeah.
And so they pull it out, and I'm like, that's the one.
Yes.
Like it's the exact one. And they're like, oh, okay, cool, So I bought that one and the one with the wrong size caps because I was like, well, now if I break this one, I'll have 2 good caps off the other bad one and 2 good caps off this one.
Yeah.
And we'll just make it work,
Dude, that's crazy. That's I wonder how many stories are like that from the week. We had the same issue with the bearing for the Volkswagen, the other car. You know what I mean? Like nobody had it. A guy named Jared actually drove one up from the Oklahoma City warehouse to Ponca City so Stephen could get back on the road, which ended up being us going back to him to get on the road to go home. Sadly. So,
yeah.
That's crazy. How about, I always find this one good. So favorite gas station? Did you have like a stop where you were like, this gas station has it going on?
I mean, besides the obvious with like Buc-ee's, like that's
Yeah.
real cool. And I've been to quite a few of the Buc-ee's actually, and I mean, both times we went to Buc-ee's, we stopped and, ate and relaxed and went shopping and blah, 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 so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
for sure. But then there's one, and I can't remember what it was for sure, like an On Q or something in Ponca City that, it's not anything particular that's special about it, but just like, memories of it. Because Race Week 2.0 last year, we went through Ponca City like 6 times because we kept going. I mean, the route did 2 or 3 times, and then we kept going back getting fuel there because they had E85 at this station.
Nice.
And so I was just laughing about that because my cousin, who was my co-pilot this last year, she's in Japan now, and I texted her. I'm like, hey, I'm in Ponca City at the gas station.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that On Q, we probably spent $35 or $40 in that place because we were at the hotel right next door. So like that was the closest food, so we would ease over and get a snack and all that kind of stuff while we waited on parts. That was a nice place. All right. So what all parts did you bring with you? Because I mean, if you have 2 rods and pistons, what other stuff did you have?
So usually I actually didn't this time, but usually I bring a spare transfer case. I have in years past, and I was really thinking about it. I mean, it's one of those things. Again, it's like I'm 600 miles from home, but I was thinking also, I'm not gonna be like launching the truck hard. Like it runs 12.0 fairly easily. So it's like
awesome.
Like I don't think I need it, but so but I had rods and pistons, a head gasket, just trying to think what else. I mean, really not too much stuff because, the deal with Race Week is if, you bring it if it's something you're not going to be able to find,
Yeah.
And it's like the thing is with the International is that it's all 2000 Silverado. So it's like I can find most of that stuff, So, I mean, of course, I got some spare electrical stuff. I got some relays and stuff that are special and whatnot, but I mean, for the most part, I really don't bring that many spare parts. I just bring all the tools, Yeah,
because I mean, that's probably the best part about LS swap stuff, and especially like what you did, putting on an LS body. You know what I mean? You're not like our truck is pieced together 8 different trucks, different front suspension, all that kind of stuff. But like you're going to buy wheel bearings for a 2000 Chevrolet truck. I mean, if they don't have that, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
and like you were saying, the specialized drive shaft or the special U joint. I mean, I would think that's probably just because you went, well, was it because it was shortened? I mean, or just because it was beefier?
It was a beefier one. One thing, it was a non-greasable one, but it, I'm not sure what they changed exactly, because it is the same width in the rear axle. And like the factory one isn't the same on the drive shaft and the rear axle, and this one was, which you would think, makes more sense, but Yeah, I don't know.
That works, man. That's pretty cool. All right, let's see what else we got on here. Oh, so that kind of lays out spare parts. What about your dad? What kind of spare parts does he bring? Because like, I mean, that car's pretty specialized, right? Or is it an LS? It's not an LS, right?
It is a LS, yeah.
Okay.
And
Oh, so yeah.
actually, that's partially the reason why I had the pistons too. Is he melted a piston in 1.0, you know, and that was funny. We just learned about that. We didn't, because his car at Bandimere, the last 2 race weeks, hurt a piston at Bandimere.
Oh,
And we're like, what's the deal? You know, like,
mm-hmm.
because at first we thought it was an injector. We had those injectors cleaned and checked, and they checked out okay, you know. So we thought they were okay. Well, we found out, you know, we didn't know that those the truck coil packs with the heat sink on them,
Mm-hmm.
if your dwell is too high, that they multi-spark, you know. And so we
Yep.
learned that at that point. We didn't know that, you know, and that's what was melting the pistons is, you know, it's so hot at Bandimere, sitting there stalling it up so long, and then at the end of the track it's multi-sparking and it's melting up a piston, you know.
Yep. That makes sense. That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense to have that with you. Now, what trans is set up in his car?
It's a 4L80 also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Dude, you guys are street car folks, man. Drag and drive event. Yep. There, Corey Noble that came with us was in that yellow and black Malibu with the LS turbo setup, and he's got a 400 in that car, and you know, 65 or 70 wasn't an issue, but it was the long extended drives at 2,800, 3,200 RPMs that he was hating on. Hey, I want to say thanks to old car guy here. He dropped some money for us, so definitely appreciate that. But yeah, same. So, you know, with the 80 in the truck, I mean, dude, we can run 80 miles an hour at 2,300 RPM. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Street car stuff, man. Street driving stuff, street race stuff. I mean, I can see the 400 because of the, you know, weight savings. But if I'm going to be driving it a bunch like we do with the truck and you do with that truck, yeah, you might as well go 80.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference in weight? 60 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For a skinny guy like you, that's not a big deal. I could probably stand to lose 60 pounds if I was worried about weight that much. You know what I mean? Being that you guys have done so many, how do you guys handle meals? You bring all your stuff. What do you do?
Oh, so we actually we switched it up this year a little bit because our mom, she came on race week this last year. She's never came because she just kind of, you know, she's just like, it's just sitting at the track, you know, I don't get to do anything, blah blah blah, you know. And but so we brought a grill this on 1.0, and she was cooking, you know, while we were racing. And so on 1.0, you know, we had all sorts of food, like, you know, she made burgers and like brought soup and all sorts of stuff, you know. But, you know, normally we just, you know, it kind of is whatever time allows, as with most people.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you know, if you got time to go get breakfast, cool, you know, you might get food at the track. You know, this year with Erin, Trevor's wife, she was able to get food, and she got food for us a few times, you know. She brought pizzas and KFC and stuff a few times, you know. So
that's great.
Yeah, so, you know, really just depends.
Now, did you meet them through, because they're Canada folks, right?
Yeah.
And so did you meet them, like, did Rich know them and you parked by him and like on through that way? How did you meet those folks?
So, I mean, actually it all started with Bill, because, you know, we've known Bill, I mean, not like real well, but you know, we've known him from race weeks past. And as, you know, since I knew I was coming down by myself, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, you know, who I was going to pit with or whatnot.
Yeah.
And so my dad, he texted Bill. He said, "Hey, can Eric pit with you guys? You know, he's coming by himself. We just wanted to see if we could find someone, you know." And he said, "Yeah, he can pit with us." But he said, "We drive pretty fast track to track. You know, I don't know if he'll want to cruise with us, but he can pit with us."
That's cool.
So okay, you know, sounds good. And so I got there. They saved me a spot. And yeah, Trevor and Rich, they're together, you know, because Trevor pulled Rich's car down from Canada.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because they had the T-Rex with the trailer, and they had to hire a driver to drive it across the border.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's how I met them, was just through Rich and Bill, and of course got to know them a lot more throughout the week, them helping and
Yeah.
everything else.
That's cool. Adam just popped in here. He said, what I missed. Let's just start over from the beginning. Okay, to give you a quick recap, it's been awesome. You'll have to go back. So typically, like you guys do what we did, just grab it when you go. And then you said 1.0 your mom cooked, so that would be nice. We actually brought a grill and didn't even take the garbage bag off of it to cook anything on it. Had hot dogs in the cooler all week long, didn't even open them up. So it was not the best idea for us there. We did have a ton of bologna sandwiches the first day, and that was the only day we wanted bologna sandwiches. Sleep is always a big deal. We added it up so we left the house Saturday morning. By Thursday morning, by the last day there, we had 18 hours of sleep total. So like, is that same for you? Did you get some sleep? I mean, running with those guys, like, are y'all kind of two and out, for passes?
I didn't, again, it varies, of course, race week to race week, but this year, I didn't do too bad because I made a pass or two, and if anyone needed some help, of course, I'd stay and help them. But I don't know. I left the track each evening around 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, So, so not awful. Go get to the hotel, relax for a little bit, take a shower. And then every morning I set an alarm for 5 just to see when we were leaving, because some days we did leave close to the end, but just to get the plan together. In a couple days, I got to sleep a little more, but
that's awesome. Adam says, how many engines have the Wilsons put in on race week?
That's a solid question. Let's think about that. So the first race week, the very first one, we did one motor, Pontiac. Then we did one in my brother's C10, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's two or three, because I know he broke his piston in the C10 again that same year, because he just put Mega Squirt on it. And one of the guys was supposed to be the Mega Squirt master, and he was helping him tune it. Well, we looked at it after the fact, and he had 29 degrees of timing in it at the top end with 15 pounds of boost. And we're
that's okay. Great for power.
Yeah.
Not good for pistons.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then so that's 2 rounds of pistons that you've put in.
Yeah,
definitely. That's pretty wild, dude. See, and that makes me feel like a complete wuss when I'm like, man, we've lost third gear in the cart. We better go on home. What was funny about the cart though is as long as it was we would slow down to 25 or so, and then if I just 3/4 throttle and shifted to overdrive at 40, it would shift 3 and then into overdrive. But as soon as I came out of the throttle at all, it would just like it had neutral. So we would run to 80 miles an hour, 85 miles an hour, and then put it in neutral and coast as far as we could. So we could have made it, but man, it would have taken a long ass time. So yeah. So Adam says, let me rephrase. How many pistons total?
How many pistons? Well, let's think about, I think it's just been 2 pistons too, though, because, it's just one this last year and one for me, because the other 2 years we put a motor in the Pontiac that first year because that was a forged piston. It messed up the block.
Oh, dang.
And, actually, I don't even remember why we did the motor in Trevor's for sure. It must have had a couple broke pistons, I'm guessing.
Yep. That's funny. You and Red Hat Scotty, man, you guys engine changers right there at the track. David Rexwinkler here says, make sure you bring more toothpaste and Scotch-Brite.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Did you, I guess you probably Scotch-Brited the cylinder wall, or did you, was it the head you were kind of shaving down there?
It was the head we were cleaning up because, it had chunks of ring land and stuff stuck up in it. And so we just got what do they call it? But we just got a grinder and ground it down. Matt Blasco ground it down ever so gently. you know,
Not with 40 grit on a battery operated grinder.
yeah, yep.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
he ground it down so it wouldn't kill the next piston, you know.
That's crazy. Stuff with Cletus Automotive says, did you get tired during the race or were you at the edge of your seat the whole time?
I didn't really get tired. It was a pretty good one, and like we were talking about, I actually got a fair amount of rest on this one, in compared to most. So
Yeah,
you know, not too bad at all.
yeah, that's wild. I got from like into day 4 into the ride home. I slept for 5 hours that morning, and it was the longest I had been asleep for one time. And I woke up like, let's take on the world. Like
Yeah,
Steven, my little brother, had gotten up at 8 and was going through all the part stores trying to find the bearing for the cart and all that kind of stuff. And so I get up at 10 and I'm like, oh man, have you done this? Oh man, have you called these people? Oh man, can we do this? And he's like, I've already done all that. I'm like, shit, what are we gonna? Man, we got to do something.
yeah.
So, oh, that's crazy. Here's a Streetcar Chronicles. Those dudes, we met them at Kicker. They were awesome. Had some super cool, right? They had a 73 Mustang and a truck or something. I can't remember. It was pretty neat. The Kicker. Did you guys go inside Kicker?
No, we got there too late.
Man, they had a 20,000 watt wall, dude. It was nuts.
Yeah, I was laughing because Cletus said he was like one of the last ones past that checkpoint. I was like, I think we were the last ones.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so if we saw you guys, because we left late that morning too. I think we left at like 9 or 10 that morning. So if we saw you and you were repairing stuff on the side of the road, yeah, you were way late.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. All right, what else we got here? Oh, favorite road snack. Like what is next to you in the seat while you're on the road?
No, it's got to be either beef jerky or Chex Mix. I'd say.
Nice. That's a good choice. I'm a Sour Patch Kids guy. I'm always got it right there. We talked about On Q earlier in Ponca City. That store had all the rollers. It had all the little stuff. They even had like, I don't know what they called them, tacos, but they were really like burritos or wraps or something like that. Those were really good. What's your go-to gas station food besides snack stuff like the jerky and things like that you just talked about?
Either, I've got some burgers at gas stations a few times, or like, it seemed like it's like sandwich type stuff, burgers, sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, something like that.
Yep. We had, I think they had like some kind of like chicken bacon burrito or something like that. And it was good. I had 3 of those, I think, throughout the 20 hours we were next to him there. It's like Adam saying Old Trapper beef jerky is the jam. And then Destroyer 1320. If you guys don't follow him, go do that right now. Awesome channel. Super cool stuff. Let's see. And then everybody's talking about all of that. So yeah, Destroyer saying, way to go, Eric. I'm sure he's followed along with a lot of the stories. Him and I actually met on 2.0 last year in Topeka and have been good buddies since then. He's helped me a ton with growing my YouTube channel and all that stuff. So we're certainly appreciative of that. Trying to think of anything else I got in here, man. That's really kind of the 10,000 foot flyover. You want to talk about some of the stuff you got in the shop? Do you have time?
Yeah, we can.
What do you guys have that you're working on, like as far as your own stuff, and then maybe some customer rigs?
I mean, like I was talking about before, a little bit. I got my 46 Ford truck, and that's actually, I got that truck from the lady who I'm buying the house from, because her husband passed away 2 years ago, and he left it to me. And
cool.
We gave him a 5.3 and a turbo to put on that truck, and he put it on a little, like the shortest Bronco 2 chassis you could find. I mean, like, I was like, that thing would have killed someone, like it looks scary.
That's awesome.
And
Destroyer here saying anything on a roller he's eaten, and then he said Streetcar Chronicles said taquitos, and then Destroyer said he doesn't trust taquitos.
But yeah, so it's, I looked at it and I went, I want to make that thing fast, and it's not going to be on that frame,
Yeah.
And so I got a Tahoe frame for it, actually.
Cool.
But the Tahoe had been rear-ended, which I knew, but I tore it all apart and I looked at it, and the frame it's fairly tweaked. And I was sitting there looking at it going, Man, that's an awfully wide frame for that truck too. You know, the
Yeah,
46.4 is not a very big truck,
not at all.
and so I started looking for. Well, I wanted a Trailblazer SS specifically, but
Hmm.
I was like, what are the chances I'm going to find a Trailblazer SS frame?
Right.
So I was looking at all the V8 Trailblazers. I found one in New Mexico. It was at a dealership actually. Look, for $3,200, looked really nice. And I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to part that one out. If I bought it.
Right.
I'm like, oh, my grandparents went and looked at it, and it was already sold, unfortunately. But anyway,
Dang.
so searching, and this, Trailblazer SS comes up that they're parting out, and so I asked them what they wanted for that frame, if they'd sell it,
Yeah.
and they said $1,500. I said, okay,
I'm in.
yeah, not bad, and so I got it. I traded a stock 6-liter for a built 6-liter for that truck.
Dude, you're like a wheeler dealer, man. How the hell did you do that?
So a buddy of ours, he got it from the guy who built it, just in trade for some work.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did is they started it and they didn't, or this is my guess anyways, I don't know for sure. I think they started it without cleaning the oil galleys out. And,
Gotcha.
they wiped all the bearings out of it.
No.
But, you can tell they didn't run it very long.
Yeah.
And so we traded him. He just said, I want a good run-in stock 6-liter for an LS swap. You can have that motor. I said, okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
And so built them just a little cam head 6-liter, and got it. And it's got diamond pistons and manly rods and ARP everything. And
so you're going ham on that thing.
Yeah.
So let me, aren't the Trailblazer rigs like a strut front end setup?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that with, I guess that'll probably still fit under the fender though, won't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
It should. The problem I'm looking at right now is where I'm going to put the turbo.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to have to be like a Camaro deal, where it's like in front of the motor, like the Catfish Camaros, because I bought a turbo manifold for it, the one on the International we made, but I bought one for it and put it on there. Yeah. And those strut towers are right in the way of everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look up like Trailblazer SS turbo kits, the turbos go real up high, and over the valve covers.
Yep.
And I got some of those old looking valve covers that cover the coil packs.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, that can't really work either.
Yeah, not if it's going in that rig.
Yeah, and it's like you'll never get any of it apart,
Yep.
And so I think it's going to end up in front of the motor, but I
so with it, will you do like the forward facing header setup then, I guess?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. I took the headers from my brother's Chevy Love, the one that he wrecked, and because he bought some new ones, and so I'm gonna cut one of them off and re-weld the V-band to it, and I think I'm gonna use them. And I might do twins on it because that's what those manifolds are. But I'll just have to look and see how much room we got.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of a big single just because of the way it hits. Big converter, big single. It more fun that way in my eyes. But if you're going that level on that now, are those? Will it be all-wheel drive? I guess.
Yeah. I'm gonna make it 4-wheel drive actually. Because I'm putting a 480 in it with the same transfer case in the International, and with those too, the front axle goes through the oil pan.
Oh yeah.
And those do have some oil starvation issues too. And so I was wondering about that, and there's a guy who sells like a baffle or a dam, for that, but it's just a baffle, so I'm like, sure, it holds the oil up longer, but it also takes longer for it to come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not sure that's what I want.
Right.
And so I chopped up an oil pan and with a trap door in it, and I put a trap door in that oil pan.
Nice. That's cool. That ought to work pretty easy.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. All right, so that's the 46. What else you got? You got your dad's Pontiac. You got
and then my dad, he's building a 1959 Opel Record.
I have no idea what that even looks like, but I know I like it already.
Yeah, they're pretty rare and they're a real cool car. It looks like a 3/4 scale 55 and 57 Chevy.
What was it again? 1955?
59 Opal Record. Cadet or something like that. It might just be a Record. I have to look and see.
Oh, dude, this is cool. Hang on. Let's see if I can screw up the screen again here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So let's share screen. Has that got it up there for you guys? This car here?
Nope. Not yet.
Hang on. We're getting there. I told you I'm not very smart. Here we go. How about this one? Dude,
yeah, there you go.
Is it two-door like that?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God.
And so it's, it's a small car because we've got we got some Miata front suspension for it, and we had to take 7 inches out of the middle of the Miata suspension to match up the track width.
Yeah. Don't let Steven Narks see any of this shit. He'll be like, I need one. He's going to rebuild the MG because he's just, he built it and he's like, there's so much more I've learned now that I can do better. Is your dad's car, is it a sedan, I guess a trunk car like this, or is it a wagon type setup?
It's a trunk car.
Nice. All right, let's see there. Hey, I didn't turn it off.
No,
it's exciting.
Yeah, and so he's got that in our mom's garage right now because we've been trying to make it a roller so we can throw it in the shop,
Yeah.
And so he's been hard to work on it. He's got that Miata suspension all in the front of it, and then he's got the 9-inch housing out of the Love too. We're reusing the 9-inch and doing 4-link on it, and
that's cool.
So we're working on that, and then brother's got his Dodge Dakota that's replacing the Love, which I don't remember what year it is for sure, but like a 96. It's the square one, and
awesome.
And that truck he got from a buddy of ours because right after he crashed the Love, he got like 7 offers the next day of vehicles to build.
Dang.
He got offered like I can't remember what it's called, but like that Lexus sedan with the 2J in it, and what else? I can't remember. Got a Corvette and a bunch of just odds and ends.
That's crazy. Hey, real quick, Destroyer, I want to say thanks, bud. I'm going to jump over and be watching. Hey, guys, he's going live, I think in like 10 or 15 minutes on his channel. So he has a weekly live feed that has guests on it as well. It's a great show. I want to say thanks for the drop of support there. All right, sorry, we're back.
No, so that's what he ended up with, because I guess he's just a truck guy, just a little bit bigger than the Love.
Yeah.
And, so he's been working away on it. He's going to do a 750 cage in it. He wants to try and make that thing wicked. And he's got the 406 stroker out of the Love in it and his twin 69 millimeter turbos. And so, he's got the motor sitting in there, got the transmission kind of mocked up. So he's been working on the cage and stuff, just doing what he can on it. And then we have an old square body Blazer in the shop right now. We did a LS swap on, and we're swapping a 4L80 into it because he's blown up 3 4L60s in like 2,500 miles, and so he said, I'm done with this.
See, like here's what's wild to me: the 60 lives for 300,000 miles in a Tahoe. From some soccer mom driving it like a maniac, lives and is fine. You put it in something else and it's like, nope, don't like this at all. Neutrals all day, babe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's crazy. We never put a 60 in the old truck. I sold the 60 that was in the donor immediately and bought an 80 just because I knew what I was going to do with it. And there was no point in even trying. Now, there's some guys that can build them, but like the old truck 80, it's all stock. I drove for like 1,500 miles, all stock. This dude pulled it out of the dirt at the junkyard and I bought it. And then Hensley went in and did a shift kit and I think some 1-2 clutches, and that's it. And that truck gets beat on all the time, makes 500 wheel, same deal as yours. You just get in, you launch it, you do burnouts, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot in mine about half the time, so 40 mile an hour rollers, I love doing that next to school buses and shit, so like if a kid's in a window in a minivan, I'm doing a burnout 100%. So that made me think, exhaust on your truck. It was always pretty quiet. Are you full exhaust on that?
Yeah, it's full 3.5 inch Duramax exhaust out of a Duramax van.
Nice.
Mhm.
That's a great way to go, because one, you can probably buy that exhaust pretty inexpensively, or find it somewhere that somebody's upgraded or they've wrecked it or something like that. So
Mhm.
that's a pretty good way to go. So it sounds like you guys have a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
That definitely keeps you busy.
Yep. Yep. Plenty busy for sure.
That's awesome. Well, dude, I want to say thanks. I really do appreciate you coming on. If folks wanted you to, like, do you just cut down harnesses as well? Like, could I send you a harness? Do you source your own harnesses? How do you handle that stuff?
Yeah, usually we get them. Our buddy at the junkyard is
Mhm.
who we partner with, so usually we get them from him, but we do have people send them to us, but it's just a deal that just have to see how busy we are, because we're
Yeah.
usually 6, 7, 8, 9 harnesses behind, because we're building them
Nice.
all the time.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. That's what we did. So I cut down my own harness the first round on the truck, and
Mhm.
then kept thinking I was having a ground issue. And I was like, I'm tired of screwing with this. And a guy local to us, same thing. They cut them down. And so I took him a second harness that I have. He cut it down. We kept having the same problem. Turns out the ground where I was grounding the stuff was bad.
Ah,
So we ended up having to clean it all. But the harness now looks way nicer than what it did when I had it. So.
yeah.
All right, dude. Well, hey, I want to say thanks for hanging out. I mean, we've been on here an hour. I appreciate you taking that time. I know you are a busy dude,
Yep.
and I love the stories. I love I'd love to have you like you and your dad and your brother on at some point to tell some stories, because you get a couple people that have lived the same hell week of race week together, and there's stories that come out of stories. So we'll definitely have to do that. So stay with me. We're going to tell everybody bye, and to definitely, for everybody that's listening on the podcast, watch on the video if you want to see some of the pictures of the Opal and the international truck from earlier. So, all right, bye. See you guys. We'll be on live next time we're on live. Bye.